Hopefully I'll be able to try and make it as interactive as possible, so I don't want you to feel like I'm lecturing you, or I don't want you to feel like you can't ask a question. So I want to try and be a bit more kind of like a workshop where you'll get some practical experience of what I'm talking about rather than me just talking at you for 45 minutes. I'll just introduce myself first of all. I'm Helen. I work at Deira International School in Festival City. I'm a secondary teacher, so I teach and I work in the commerce department. I teach business. I don't hold a position of responsibility, so everything I'm saying, I'm going to be honest, this is from my own experience. It's not from anything that I've been taught or been told. I've kind of gone on the basis of trial and error, but if this is something that you would like to do in your school, then hopefully my errors can help you moving forward. So what I'm going to be talking about is how we use Twitter at DIS to engage students, parents, teachers and the community as well. We started doing this in January, so it's only been going, well, obviously it's only been going 5 or so months, so it's still relatively new to us, but I feel like we've come quite a long way since we started, which I'm going to share with you today. I'm just going to start first of all with a video that's not mine, so I'm not going to claim it, from YouTube, about the importance of social media, which I think is important in getting started, just to get an idea of the significance of social media today. Hopefully this has sound. I didn't actually check. Okay, so as we can see, social media is kind of at the heart of what we do every day, and that's really what we're trying to tap into at DIS, is to really take advantage of that. I was going to say at the beginning, if you've got a phone or a laptop or an iPad or anything like that, please feel free to play around with it. I'm not going to feel offended if you look to be playing on your phone. I would like to, if there's something that I've got here, take advantage and go on your phone or your iPad or whatever. There is Wi-Fi, so you'll be able to get on it. Okay, so can I just have a quick show of hands who actually has their own Twitter account? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk through what Twitter is, for those of you that don't know. Our address, if you want to go on your phone or your laptop or an iPad, is www.twitter.com/dis_Dubai. So if you want to go on that, just so it maybe makes a little bit more sense about what I'm talking about, please feel free to do that. Okay, so Twitter it's referred to as a microblogging site where users can tweet or broadcast a message of up to 140 characters. In the same way that you become friends with people on Facebook, you can follow people and likewise they can follow you. What that means is that if someone is following you, they will receive all of your tweets, and anyone that you follow, you'll receive all of their tweets. The main difference between Twitter and Facebook is that Twitter is a bit more open. It's more of a global, I guess a global community, if I want to refer to it in a bit of a cheesy way. It's a global community where if your profile is public, anyone across the world can access what you're saying. On Facebook, you have, on Twitter, you have the ability to reply, retweet, and favourite people's tweets. Things that people are talking about on Twitter, it could be anything from political movements all the way through to gossip, all the way through to education. I know in Dubai there's a growing network of teachers that are using Twitter as CPD, which we've kind of started doing, but this was really our first step on our Twitter journey. Hashtags is a term that you might have come across before. Hashtags are a way of adding a category onto what you're talking about, and that will make a little bit more sense if you're not familiar with a hashtag with some of the stuff I'm talking about. Currently in the UAE, 2.5 million tweets are sent daily, and there's 220,000 Twitter users just in Dubai. So it's something that that's growing a lot in the Middle East as well as the rest of the world. The reason I first got a Twitter account, so I've had a Twitter account for almost 3 years now, and that's around about the length of time that I've lived in Dubai. And it all started because I felt that I was in what you're probably all familiar with as the Dubai bubble. I felt like I was in this bubble where I knew what was going on in Dubai, but I had no idea what was going on in the rest of the world. So I set up my own Twitter account, so basically I could keep up to date with the news, with my football team, and if I really wanted to, I could find out what Kim Kardashian was doing as well. My ability to follow and unfollow people at my leisure means that I can kind of select and personalise what I'm interested in. So then I found, when I started at DIS, which I think probably most of us have experienced at some point, I felt like I was in the classroom bubble. I knew what was going on in my classroom, I knew what was going on with the students that I taught, but at times I didn't really know fully what was going on in the rest of the school. We've got sports teams that played, but I had no idea what the score was. I'm quite a nosy person, so I like to know what's going on in the rest of the school, but I felt that being in my little classroom bubble, I didn't really have a sense of what necessarily was going on in the rest of the school. So just as an example, you hear people saying, I didn't even know we had a school show. What's MUN? We sent a group of students off to China for 2 weeks, and I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know what MUN was. They won what? We've got a basketball team. There was so much stuff that I just felt like, and I would like to think I'm probably not alone in that it's something that I think all schools from time to time struggle with. They maybe feel like you don't get to find out everything that's going on in the school. So basically our solution was setting up a Twitter account. I approached our director and said, I want to set up a Twitter account because I think it would be really useful, and I think he kind of said, I don't really know what you're talking about, I don't really understand what you're talking about, so yes, do it, because it potentially sounds like a good idea. So I'll just show you one here. If I can give you one of these to hand around as well. I've got a worksheet for you. If you just want to take one and pass it on. This is basically a sheet where, thank you. This is a sheet where on one side we've got what we do, and then on the other side you can make notes and add on what you could do. So basically this will maybe act as a little bit of a checklist you can go and put on your pinboard when you get back to school, and use some of the ideas that we've done to hopefully do the same at your school if you feel that it's something that would work for you. Okay, so this is our Twitter page. Currently, we have 366 followers. That changes every day. I actually went through the really fun task of going through and counting how many of those followers were students. We have around about 200 of the 366 are students. The rest is made up of staff, businesses in Dubai, government organisations, parents, anyone that's potentially interested in what we've got to say. I'll give you a chance as well in the question answer if you want to come and have a look at it and me to talk through it with you in a bit more detail, that's fine. So we've tweeted, or rather I've tweeted 977 times. Just some of the stuff that I've been tweeting today. We've just signed at school. We've just signed a partnership with the Intercontinental Hotel Groups. So literally while that was happening, I was able to take photos and upload them immediately. So it was very, very up to date, to the minute, kind of latest news at DIS. I've also got the photos on there as well. So they're just kind of my slightly dodgy iPad photos, but photos that I was able to take and upload immediately onto our Twitter account. This is just an example. We've got our visual arts exhibition, so this is the invite that we've been able to tweet out to our 366 followers of an event that they can put in their diaries. So, as I say, we're not quite up to half our students, or rather half our followers being students, but a large proportion, around about 200 and 300 no, sorry, that is just over half. We've had a kind of, since I did this presentation, that we've had a bit of a flurry of people signing up. We've also got some students that have left the school and are still following what we're up to. We've also got some prospective students that are starting the school in September and have started following the school Twitter page so they can find out a bit about what we do. Okay, so what do we tweet? I've put some examples on the sheet that I've handed out, but this is just a bit more of a comprehensive list. So sports results, Model United Nations, charity initiatives, CAS, because we're an IB school, outdoor education, anything to do with options for Year 9, inter-school competitions, class projects, university tours, school news, examinations, sports day, academic achievements, visits, inspection and school events. They were just kind of off the top of my head of some of the stuff that we talk about. The way that we work it is that ideally every single thing that we tweet is of interest to every single follower. So rather than being too specific or things like, for example, room changes, I wouldn't tweet a room change. That if a class was being moved to a different location in school, I wouldn't tweet that. That's something that can be that's something that can be communicated in a different way in the school. So this is something that I try to make the information that's being tweeted as accessible as possible to everyone that follows us. Obviously, that's not always going to be the case, but as ideally as possible. So anyone that follows us will see this in their news feed. So they get a Twitter feed, which is like a Facebook news feed, showing everything that everyone that they follow, what they've said, including us as well. I'll probably tweet around about maybe up to 10 times a day. At the moment, it's only me that does it. I don't get paid to do it. It's just something I do because I think it's important. I think it's worth doing. So probably if any of you thinking this sounds maybe a bit time consuming, it can take a little bit of time in terms of getting it set up, but as long as you can spare maybe 2 minutes to send out a little message. I've got my iPad, which I always have with me, so it's quite straightforward for me just to broadcast as I go along. Or I'll save it up to the end of the day and just send them out all in one go. Here's just some examples of photos that we've put up on there as well. Typically, they love seeing their photos on there. They absolutely love, you can see when they've favourited anything from events that we've done, school trips, posters for our school musical, everything's on there, and they absolutely love seeing their friends, seeing themselves on there. Okay, hashtags. I've got a list of them on the sheet that I've given you, of the hashtags that we've done. So at the end of the message, we will put a hashtag and that puts it into a category. So an example we've got at the moment is DIS fame. So every single message that I write and tweet about the DIS school musical, we will put at the end DIS fame. What I can do then is if I click on the hashtag, because you can see it comes up like a hyperlink, all of those messages get clumped together. If students say something about DIS fame, that will categorise with them as well. anything where we've got a school event, where there's been anything where we think particularly, say for example, we've got our KHDA inspection report. So when the KHDA inspection report came out, we tweeted about it and said, well done to all of Team DIS for the great feedback. We kind of, bit cheesy, but refer to ourselves as Team DIS. Yeah, bit cheesy, but it's what we do. If there's any sports results, anything like that, and with the sports results, we are quite, we like to say win, lose or draw, we will say the sports results. So it's not just a case of if you're winning, then we'll talk about it. It's a case of if you're taking part, then we'll talk about it. Here, we tend to have particularly good basketballers and cricketers, so it probably looks like we've just tweeted those ones, but we've been beaten in quite a lot of other stuff, so I can assure you on that one. Okay, has anyone got any questions so far? Yes?
Do you have a school policy for tweeting the pictures of students?
Yeah, I'll come on to that in a second. Basically, we've got, I don't know what systems you've come from at home, but at my school we had an exemption form. So basically there's a form that all parents give, which I've got on my memory stick a folder of all of the materials that we've used and things like our photograph exemption form. So basically so parents can opt out from us using their children's names, images, photos, work, all of those. So we have a record of anyone that parents have said no, we don't want them to be included on there. So yeah, that's something that kind of we only really realised that when we came across it, that we thought, hang on a minute, we're using a lot of student images and we haven't actually asked anyone's permission. But I've got a copy of the letter, so if anyone is interested in getting those resources, you can, or I can email you them, like that. Okay, so here's just some examples of where I particularly think Twitter has been affected. So this one, just promoting the school musical, it was retweeted 5 times and favourited as well. So that meant that 5 people had retweeted our message. That was one that was particularly successful. We've done quite a lot of work with Buckle Up UAE, so where they've tweeted about us, saying that we're doing work about wearing seatbelts. So that we found that is quite a good thing of raising awareness. This was when some of our students were taking part in the Young Musicians of the Gulf competition, and they were tweeting us from the competition, keeping us up to date with when they'd got through to the next round or when how successful they'd been, things like that. So here's just an example of the conversation where Emma had tweeted us, and then we were able to retweet her message to keep everyone else up to date with how we were doing. This was when it was International Day, so just a little bit of feedback, a bit of student voice can become effective. And this one as well, I'm going to be honest with it. We had a tweet, so Sports Day turned out really bad this year, so bad. It's something that before they would have said this anyway, but this is a way that they can actually communicate with us about what they felt had gone wrong, and then it's something that we can do about it. So yes, it could backfire. But this is pretty much the worst that we've had, and we can actually do something about it. I'd rather they said, it turned out really bad, we want it to be better for next year, so we can get them involved rather than not saying it at all. We also have, so there's a slightly dodgy photo of me in the corner. One of the things that we found as well, we didn't want to become too reliant on Twitter, because a lot of people aren't on Twitter or choose not to be on Twitter. So what we have is it's linked up with our virtual learning environment, which all students and parents have access to, and our Twitter feed appears on here like a ticker. So like the Twitter feed that we've got on Twitter, we also have the ticker that comes up on the virtual learning environment. So we use our VLE to set assignments and share work, communicate with parents, and the Twitter feed will be on here as well. So that if, say for example, a student says, well actually I'd prefer not to follow the school, I don't want my account to be linked to you, what they can do is they can just use the VLE instead. Also, it's not like Facebook in that you have to be registered to be able to access information. You can just go on and see the information anyway. So what we've said is, if you don't want to follow us, that's absolutely fine. But you can still use the Twitter page as information. So it doesn't necessarily matter if they're not on Twitter, they can still get the information. Here's just, I just asked some of the students that I knew used the DIS Twitter page about what they thought about it and whether they found it useful. So a newbie said that she felt that DIS on Twitter keeps her motivated as her efforts are recognised. It keeps students up to date with school news, photos, and as an alternative to the school newspaper. So we used to have a school newspaper that used to come out I think it probably came out every term, and by the time the news came out, it was a little bit out of date and maybe not, the information that we were sharing wasn't as relevant as it was at the beginning. This one, at first I couldn't believe that my school was on Twitter. I really like that I can keep up to date with what's going on at DIS when I check my tweets. So whether they're just checking on their phone or their iPad or whatever they're checking on, they can just see the news. We've also found that it's a lot easier to get someone to go on a link or go on a website if you can just click on it rather than having it on a sheet of paper where you've got to type it in yourself. So if you can just click on a link to get to where we want them to access, whether it's a resource or some information, then we found that more people have gone on that than were before when we were just giving a sheet of paper, for example.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
Since the kids have a lot of freedom to write any kind of stuff that they want to write in, and more importantly, adults and parents who have access to your page, have you had a situation where you've got negative feedback or a complaint maybe, and do you have a system to deal with that?
The worst we've had so far was the sports day incident. Until we retweet something though, it wouldn't appear on our Twitter feed. So it's different to Facebook in that someone can't post directly on your page. It would still be out there, but what we can do is either address that situation with them individually, or we would choose not to share that with other people. The way that we've approached it is, whether we've got Twitter or not, they're going to say that anyway. They talk about the school. All students talk about their school on Twitter. It's just what we're doing is we're able to kind of take advantage of that, maybe exploit it a little bit, because sometimes, say for example, we got one the other day, and I'll show you one here. We got one the other day, and a young lad in year 8 had said, where is it? Sorry, should be a second. He had said that he was fed up of school. When is it going to be summer? I can't wait for the year to be over. So yeah, this one. Yeah, I'm so tired of school, DIS Dubai, my gosh, when is it the summer holiday? So he said, not long to wait, plus there's lots of things to look forward in term 3, including Fame and Wild Wadi. So Wild Wadi joined in and they retweeted, and then he replied and said, wow, that's cheered me up, I can't wait for Wild Wadi, and then Wild Wadi retweeted again about what the young lad in year 8 had said. So it was kind of a way of overcoming the objection a little bit, but also a little bit of an opportunity of sharing what we're doing in term 3 as well. So, but the thing is, he would be saying that anyway. He would be saying, I'm so tired of school, I'm fed up, but we're able to actually say something in response to that. Okay, so these are just some of the hurdles that we faced. We have a policy at our school, it might be different for you, it just depends what your preference is. We don't follow any students. So we just tweet this every now and again and say we value and respect your right to free speech, follow us and we will not follow you back. So that's quite an important thing that all students do need to know, that we're not going to be following them. We're not snooping on their page, we're not trying to find out what they're doing at the weekend. But, and what I'll come on to a second is we're kind of, well, I'll come on to it in a second, it'll make more sense when I say it. This is the student photograph exemption form. As I say, I've got a copy here if you'd like to have a copy, where parents can opt out of their children's images or names or work being used in any of our publications, not just on Twitter. Okay, so our next stage, we want to get more parents on Twitter. We've only got a very small parent population at the moment. If I'm honest as well, it's more secondary based than primary based. I think more than anything because I'm a secondary teacher, I only teach from year 10 and upwards. So the people I come into contact with more than likely are going to be secondary teachers. So how we can get primary more involved is definitely something that we want to look into. We're going to use kind of as a basis point, you might have seen the story in the news about a young girl that got a position with the British police and then lost, well, she was forced to resign from the job due to inappropriate tweets that she put on there when she was 15, kind of based around racist, homophobic, generally offensive comments. So we're using that as an opportunity within our Skills for Life programme to educate students about their virtual footprint, what they should be putting online, what they need to be aware of, because I think sometimes they forget that what goes in writing actually is going to stay on there probably forever, and that universities, recruiters use things like Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. as a recruitment tool. So this is something it's actually been a really good opportunity to use it as an education point. So that's coming at the beginning of next year. We're also starting to use it as a teaching and learning tool. So we've currently got DIS Maths, DIS Humanities, DIS Commerce and DIS ICT, where we're going to use it in the classroom. I'll just show you the Commerce page. So we're using it as a teaching tool where students can interact with questions, articles. They can actually respond to things that we've put on here. I'll show you just an example on here. So this one, have you noticed that products are getting smaller while prices stay the same? So one of our students, Kais, has just interacted with that story. So what we're starting to do is encourage teachers to start using it in the classroom actually as a teaching tool, because it's actually a fantastic resource for sharing information, sharing articles, setting questions. Even, say for example, as an English teacher, being able to build up a character profile in a story, whereas me as a business teacher, I can ask for students to post links for a homework, say for example. When starting from next year, our IB1 students are going to actually have a school Twitter account, so it won't be their personal one, so hopefully none of them will feel like their privacy was being compromised. So linked with their school email address, they will have a school Twitter page, and we will actually use that actively in lessons where they can just use it from their tablets or phones or computers. I haven't really thought out the logistics for this one, but I've had this grand plan of a student takeover. I don't really know how it would work. I don't know anything more, but my idea for next year is to do some sort of student takeover where students will be able to run the DIS Twitter for a day. I would probably be very selective of who was going to do it. But as I say, I haven't thought anything more than the concept of the student takeover, but that's something I'm kind of working on for next year. So yeah, that's it. I'm notoriously bad for talking fast, so I apologise. I'll probably race through that at a million miles an hour. So if you've got any questions, feel free as well if you want to actually have a play around on the Twitter account. If you want to complete this, fill in any ideas that you might have about how you could use Twitter at your school. I've also got, I'll hand this out in a second, just an overview of what I've talked about, and it's got an Arabic version on the back as well, so you can use that for, hopefully everyone in your school will be able to have a look at that. So yeah, I'll hand that out now.
And can we get a copy of the parents' permission slip?
Yeah. I've got quite a few resources on here that you may or may not find useful, even because Twitter has quite a lot of strict guidelines with how their logos are used, what logos should be used as well. So rather than you having to double up, I've got a presentation on here that's got various things to do with getting started on Twitter, the basics about what Twitter is, the Twitter feed, So this is DIS Dubai. So this is our school Twitter. We then have DIS Lex, which is our teaching and learning version of Twitter. So that's just for staff and interacting with other people that are in the Twitter community, the teacher Twitter community. I think Tweetchers they're known as. I think. Yeah, the kind of things that we're tweeting, there's just an example. And we've got DIS Commerce as well, which is my one from my department. Yeah, and then there's just some of the posters that we've used as well. So please feel free to take what you'd like. Does anyone have any questions at all? Yeah.
If you yourself are actually involved in this, how do you get the information?
What I generally do is, it's based on generally being quite nosy and trying to poke my nose into every part of the school, but also I encourage people. So now more often the sports results are coming to me, or if someone's taken, so say for example when the group were in China for MUN, they were just texting me photos. So they could text me the photo and then I could upload it directly from my phone straight away. Literally kind of wherever I am I can tweet. Which is probably, I would strongly suggest that if you are to do this, you have to kind of give yourself time limits, because I get a little bit out of control with tweeting all times of the day and spend quite a bit of time at home doing it, which it's not necessary to do that. Things like we have a daily bulletin, so I'll pull off things from the daily bulletin that I think would be appropriate for Twitter. I generally, the big thing is, you either need a team of people or a person that is able to know everything that's going on in the school. And I feel like for the first time I know what's going on in the school, and other people are talking about what's going on in the school as well, which for us certainly that's not what it was like a year ago. I had no idea what was going on. You know, whether teams were winning or losing, what school trips were going out, I just had no idea. Whereas now I feel like we can actually, you know, even the smallest achievement we can really celebrate and shout about, which is nice. It's a bit of a record of all the positive things that school does, which is nice. Again, sounds a bit cheesy, but it's true. Any other questions? Or if anyone wants to come and have a look or have a play around at all, I'll bring it up for you. What I'll do is I'll sign in, so you can actually see what it looks like from my side. Yeah, so this is what it looks like from our side. So it's pretty much the same. So if I go to our homepage, this is my Twitter feed. So these are all the people that we follow. So you'll be able to see the KHDA tweets. So we follow 186 people, which is generally made up of news sources, government organisations, universities that we've got partnerships with, any sort of Dubai forums, various different organisations. And then here on the Connect page, you can see what people have said to us. So these are all the things that have been tweeted to us. So the students, when we've been retweeted, when people have followed us, and then there's our page as well, with all of our photos and videos. What we've got as well, so this is our DIS Facebook page. So on here we just put photo albums and video links and invites for events. So it's just, we only use it for the three things, but we can link the two together. So a video from Fame rehearsals, the visual arts exhibition, photo albums from the Young Entrepreneurs competition. We have all of those on our Facebook page. And we link between the two, because there's a lot of things that Facebook can do in terms of uploading a full photo album that Twitter can't. So if we work together with them, then it kind of benefits, complements the two. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Helen, for this very wonderful and thought-provoking session with all of us. I'm sure all of us learned something from this. So this is probably the last session, and I think all of us will be heading for the buses after this.